Thanks for joining us here on PM Express. I'm pretty sure you've watched our special investigative documentary on the PBC, the produce buying company. And we're going to get into that tonight. The reason why we chose to focus on this, because in a country, for a country that is in crisis, one of the biggest earners has to perform. If cocoa fails to perform, we are going to have even more serious challenge on our hands, more damning, more serious than we're currently experiencing. That's why this is a very important subject to look at. And it fits into a bigger picture, really. In the last few years, we've actually seen that we've seen a certain decline in cocoa and its contribution to our economy. And that's one of the things that we are looking at to, in essence, try and get to the bottom of the challenge. And this PBC example is just the latest in a long history, recent history, of things that appears not to go right when it comes to managing the cocoa sector and its contribution to the country. And you see on your screens there where we are when it comes to PBC. And PBC, by the way, it is that vehicle that the state uses to buy the cocoa that our farmers produce and sell. It is not entirely state-owned, but it's significantly state-owned enterprise that, in essence, buys the cocoa and sells it. Now, as we speak, if you look at the market share challenge that we've just put on a screen for you, that market share has dwindled from 30.9% all the way to somewhere 8% to a story already. And that the private sector, more than 92% of the cocoa that we produce is being bought and sold by private companies. Many of them, they are not even Ghanaian-owned companies. Because the PBC used to be the only wholly owned Ghanaian entity backed by the state to do business with our own cocoa farmers. And as we see, it's been run down, to put it mildly, over the last few years. And so that share is now down to 8%. But here's a catch. Because of the challenge, the taxpayers' money has been pumped a lot into this, because as you know, the Cocoa Board has now been forced to fund the PBC's own purchases, but they've been incurring significant losses. They owe the bank more than 500 million cedis, and that is also leaving a hole. And it all ties up. It all makes sense, right? All this debt conversation that we're having. Every little drop that you see leak from PBC may contribute to that problem as well. And that's a decline that we've seen over the period. And we've seen this disagreement between the past administration and the current administration about who is to blame and who did what and who didn't. The real question to ask is, why is the PBC in its current state? For a player that represents our interest, for a sector that contributes so significantly to the economy, that is pretty alarming. And they've been engaged in this war of words. We'll get into the real reasons why the PBC is where we are from the perspective of the previous administration, but also the current administration, which you've heard. And then this table tells a story in terms of the total revenue. See, the losses here are staggering. Staggering losses over the period is what they've recorded. I mean, my colleague, Kwete, who did this work, indicates that if the Finance Ministry tracked the losses from 2016 to 2020, they arrived at a significant loss in revenue amounting to 2.9 billion cedis. So that's quite a lot of money that has gone down, that PBC is losing, that they could make. 50%, he says, 50% of what they're making is a loss. They've lost 50% of their revenue. And no wonder they've lost the market share, because without money, you can't buy and purchase the cocoa. And so the private sector is taking over that particular space there. Now, if you look at the shareholding, the top 5 largest shareholders when it comes to the PBC, you look at the SNIT, state-owned SNIT. You look at the Ministry of Finance with 36% following. Then you look at the Tiger Mutual Fund. You look at the NTHC. You look at the STD norms. And so if you look at the state interest there, that is the overwhelming majority stakeholder in this particular ownership. And so the taxpayers' resources, your interest and my interest, is here, and it's been mismanaged to where we currently see. So that's a conversation we'll be having today with the individuals involved, and we'll talk to the Cocoa Board as well, and how they are also trying to manage this particular problem. Stay with me after the break, we'll get into the details.
People have money emergencies. Ma, I need my school fees emergency. Mommy chop money emergency. Emergency. Catch it. I'm your rent emergency. Now, there's a new emergency number in town.
More money, challenge and enjoyment. At the top life we got.
Dial star 770 hash for all your money emergencies and chop life.
Dial star 770 hash for money emergencies and get easy and quick access to your money, loans, and other banking needs. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Crazy pa. No somebody know me.
Whiskey.
Wash. All of a sudden, my voice I hear different. And when you saw a call. Barman, bring me the honey whiskey. You know the one? Black Rock whiskey.
Honey whiskey.
Shale, honey near their fro. Black Rock whiskey is strong. Now so taste me is smooth and it goes down easy. Excuse me. Barman, bring my friend one Black Rock whiskey.
Black Rock whiskey, blended with natural honey flavor.
Hey, what's up?
Barman.
Hey, what the over Sikanton Sata? You've been to a man, no?
Black Rock whiskey can be a feeling smoothness, no?
Drink responsibly. Not for sale to persons under 18 years of age and not recommended for pregnant women. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
We've had news file over the weekend, and an interesting part of the conversation focused.
Oh no, we are out of range.
Oh, don't worry, Daddy. I have Alexa in my bag.
Alex, what?
Alexa, open Multimedia Ghana and play Joy FM.
Super Hits Radio, Joy 99.7.
Listen to Joy FM, Hits FM, Love FM, live on your Amazon Echo. Listen to your favorite multimedia radio stations live on your Amazon Echo device by saying, Alexa, open Multimedia Ghana, play Joy FM or Hits FM or Love FM. Or catch up on your favorite podcast by saying, Alexa, play, and then the name of your favorite podcast from Multimedia Ghana. For a list of all podcasts available, say Alexa. Ask Multimedia Ghana to browse programs.
On air. And we are back like we never lost signal.
Alexa, welcome to Multimedia.
The joy of every tiler is using the ideal tile adhesive for a lasting bonding. It is for this reason that tilers and builders always use Webercore tile adhesives. They know that Webercore tile adhesives are of European quality and produced locally by St. Gobain Weber Ghana. They know that Webercore tile adhesives have all the additives and chemicals, and all you need is water. They know that Webercore tile adhesives are what you use for indoor, outdoor, and swimming pools. And they know that if they have to tile right and tile once, then it is Webercore tile adhesives. Webercore tile adhesives are available at major outlets like City Ceramica, Interstar Ceramics, Skyview Express, Atala Limited, Antis Limited, Bravo Depot, Tago, Kantamanto, and Koforidia, and an outlet near you. For retailing and your project, call 0556 486 342.
Weber, we care.
My name is C. I'm a person living with HIV. I got to know of my HIV status when I became pregnant. Since then, I I have successfully been delivered of an HIV negative baby. Thanks to PMTCT services. I follow the guidelines and take my HIV medicine called ARVs every day to date. This makes me strong, healthy, and prevents me from passing HIV onto my baby. Please avail yourself of PMTCT services when pregnant. It is the only way to ensure that you do not transmit HIV onto your baby during pregnancy, birth, and breastfeeding. Even if you have tested for HIV recently and was negative, test again when pregnant. If you test positive, take the baby back to the hospital immediately after birth, as directed by your healthcare provider. The baby will also be given medicine immediately after birth and tested to ensure that both mother and baby are well. Let's work together to have a generation free of HIV.
Our children must be free to shine.
Tee up someone in red, and it goes to one.
Do not say! 5 champions league. You want to know? I be the real goat.
Who is the goat? Ghana Jollof or Nigerian Jollof?
Ghana Jollof has no co-equal. The smell alone. Oh my God!
That shit. You two they lie, eh? Now the same stew when they use cook the rice and then they go put them for top.
Hey, you are lying. Ghana Jollof.
Are you idiot? Forget everybody. Yeah, my guy. Put some respect on the goat.
On the goat. The only goat I know lives in Tama.
Every year we dey give to you back.
We are talking about PET. I want some Yajia defense.
Except be the goat, huh?
My guy, he be the goat.
Though our choice of goats may differ in football, music, and jollof, Alomo Bitters always brings us together. Alomo, experience greatness in every moment.
Drink responsibly. Not for sale to persons under 18 and recommended to pregnant women. This advert is FDA.
Imagine a family without a home. Imagine a song without a voice. Imagine a church without prayers. Imagine a government without citizens. Imagine democracy without journalists. Imagine a world without the media. Life is full of issues and stories about people, communities, and governments. Stories that have to be told by well-trained journalists. That's why you can't imagine news without Joy News.
Joy Businessman. My name is Victoria Efua Agbai. Welcome to Bubune Africa. I'm an international trade advisor, and I started Bubune Africa almost 4 years ago, and we are into the production of value-added natural cosmetic products. And we realized that our top sellers were the body lotion, the body butter, and the black soap gel. So we decided to focus on that and really improve it. And with time, people started asking for hair care products. So we just launched our shampoo and conditioner. So currently we have about 8 products. We want to start selling internationally. We would like to be able to establish an oil processing facility because there's a huge demand for our local oils like the neem and the baobab. But we need machinery to be able to do that.
This Wednesday on the Joy Business Van, on TV, radio, online and on ground. The Joy Business Van, powered by Joy Business and supported by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank and MTN. What are we doing today?
This week on the Executive Lounge, some top executives from Volkswagen Ghana will bring us up to speed on their operations and the automobile industry.
The automotive coming to Ghana as well, we know that the government is also a part of the policy that component manufacturing is also coming on top of that. And with that component of manufacturing, we're really going to double up also employment numbers in the country.
Our vision as Volkswagen Group Africa, if I may put it like that, in the long term is really that we've got supply out of a Western African hub to all of Africa. That would be Ghana. We've got Kenya as currently our East African hub to all of Africa. That of course should be accompanied by hopefully logistics which enables really free movement of goods within Africa.
The Executive Lounge shows every Thursday at 5:30 p.m. and 10 p.m. Saturdays at 12 noon and Sundays at 5 p.m.
Hi there, my name is Evans Mensah. I would like to tell you about the Joy News Impact Makers Awards and why you should be excited about it. Because you see, there are people who dedicate themselves to a cause they care deeply about. These are everyday people who go the extra mile to make their communities better. I'm talking about the people making real impact on humanity. The Joy News Impact Award is about these individuals. Many of you have nominated that person you feel truly deserves to be celebrated as a Joy News Impact Maker. Our panel of judges is receiving the entries. In May, 10 of these amazing and outstanding people will be selected at an event that would celebrate their remarkable dedication and service to humanity. This is the Joy News Impact Makers Awards, where we celebrate ordinary people who are making extraordinary impact. Join Joy News and the Multimedia Group to recognize, honor, and support dedicated people and their inspiring work. Joy News Impact Makers Awards. It's time to celebrate greatness. This year, the NDC and the MPP elect their flag bearers
and parliamentary candidates for the crucial 2024 general elections.
Your election headquarters is rolling up its sleeves to bring you the most comprehensive coverage.
We will be your eyes and ears on the ground, bringing you the breaking news.
I'm not here for future, I'm here for now.
The NPP will do times 10 what we did in 2020.
From constituencies, regions, and across the length and breadth of the country till the delegates decide.
On Joy 99.7 FM.
Joy News, myjoyonline.com.
And across all our social media platforms.
Your election headquarters. Don't miss a thing. Thanks for staying with us. I want to bring in Fifi Boafo. He's the Public Affairs Manager at the Cocoa Board. They've been forced to carry a bit of the burden with the PVC, obviously struggling, and they're having to carry a bit of this by paying a bit of the, giving them money so they can survive. But this is a company that should not be operating like that, because once they get the money, they buy, they sell, they make profit. They should simply run it self-sustainably, but that's not the case. Stephen Ananebwating is the president of the Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association, and the key thing about them is that they produce the cocoa that everybody else is buying. Why is it that they prefer to do business with the private license buying companies and not the indigenously owned PBC? I want to get into that and understand a bit of this also. And then we'll be joined by Nana Ajini Mbwating. He's a former managing director of a produce buying company. I need him here because I want to understand why we are where we are today. The previous management had said that in 2013, thereabout where he was the head, they are seeing significant declines. He's disputed that, but the real problem is diagnosing the challenge and also prescribing solutions. And so he joins us on the telephone line right now. Fifi, let me start with you. And I was looking at the challenge that the PBC is going through, the huge debt on your books, more than 500 million, the significant losses that they are making. And from everything I've heard you explain before, now the Cocoa Board is having to finance a bit of what they do. But do we really still need a PBC? Should we still be spending money on them? After all, they only have 8% of the market share. And clearly, we are so fine.
Well, Evans, 8% is significant. 8% of, say, 850,000 metric tons is significant. And I made a point early on that if you look at the operations of PBC, it is critical in the sense that even though you have over 65 license buying companies, PBC, we may call them the buyer of last resort. There are some specific areas where the other license buying companies do not fancy, but the PBC will go the extra mile of ensuring that they buy from these areas. So, for example, places like the Volta, Uti region, and very remote places along the cocoa communities. PBC will go the extra mile by buying from these places. So sure, PBC is very important to us, and their continuous existence in the business is critical. Even though PBC margin has reduced, and we are now talking about 8%, 9%, the company that is doing better, or the companies that are doing better than PBC are only two at present, and they are doing less than 20%. So yes, PBC is still within the first three most performing license buying companies. One thing we need to also note is that...
Can you explain this? So the two others doing better than PBC, yes. You said they are doing less than 20%.
Yeah, they are doing less than 20%.
So PBC is 8. So let's say, give or take, all three, the big boys, are doing 30. So who is doing the 70? Who is taking up on the 70%?
Yeah, we have about 65 license buying companies.
All of them private?
The only one that is public is PBC.
The PBC.
The rest are private. We have 6 foreign-owned companies, and the rest are locally owned.
Yeah. So there appears to be some healthy competition there. And the PBC, which is largely state-owned, is currently struggling in an economic crisis. I return to the question. Where is the justification to continue giving them money when Cocoa Board itself is struggling by themselves? I mean, because everybody is struggling in this economy. The finance minister has said that even your loans now, they are trying to restructure it. So why are you still giving them help? Leave them to float or sink.
No, giving them money is nothing new. All license buying companies until recently get some support from Cocoa Board. That is the seed fund we give them. Beginning every year, Cocoa Board will go for the syndication. When we syndicate for the money, there's a portion that is given to the license buying companies to go out there and buy the cocoa from the farmers and then give it out to Cocoa Board, and then Cocoa Board will pay for the difference. So all license buying companies until recently enjoy that support. Recently, government decision is that for the foreign-based companies, they are not supposed to enjoy the seed funds we give to the companies. We should only give it to the local companies. So the local companies are the only companies enjoying. So it's not just PBC alone. The only difference with the PBC arrangement presently is that with PBC, they do not have to go to the bank to raise a collateral to come for the seed fund, because there is a challenge for them to raise a collateral to come for the seed fund or the guarantee. So there's a special arrangement where Ministry of Finance, SIGA come in, and we give them the seed fund. So they do not have to spend on the guarantee. And apart from that, they also don't have to provide a guarantee in getting it. So the money they ordinarily pay to the banks, they save it and it forms part of their working capital. So it is a support we give them.
Yeah,
but
yet they are having losses. The private guys do not get the same treatment, and yet they are doing okay and floating and doing and thriving. They owing the bank more than 500 million.
But bear in mind, Evans, the challenge they have, or the fall in their market share, is not only because they are having financial challenges. Yes, that's part of their challenges. But the fact that you also have competition. Because bear in mind, the first three companies, you still find PBC in there. The fact that there is competition, there are other companies that are going the extra mile to make sure that they are able to stay business and make profit. That is why you find PBC margins dropping. Because when PBC was moved out from Cocoa Board, they enjoyed monopoly. The monopoly is no more. Now there is competition, the numbers have increased, and the fact that the numbers have increased, you have more people competing for the same amount of cocoa that is bought.
Except that, Fifi, the challenge with PBC is not only the drop in the market share. It is just one of the symptoms. Other problem, they are hemorrhaging huge amounts of money, the losses. The SOE report shows that, the Finance Ministry's own report shows that in billions, right? They are now, they big struggle to pay their own staff. They struggle to even buy the cocoa. I mean, they've struggled in the past. Sometimes they can't even buy at all. Sometimes they miss the main season. By the time they go, the rest of the market, the license buying, I've bought the chunk of it. So this is clear case of mismanagement across the board, even with all the help that you give them.
But we see the drop in their market share also affects their revenue. Because the more you are able to buy, then the amount you also make from the business also increases. So if there's a drop in your market share, it also affects your revenue. So that is another challenge they have at this point. I am not in a position to speak for PBC and why these challenges are there. But bear in mind the point I made at the beginning of our conversation. There's something PBC does, which the other companies do not offer us, that, and there's the need for us to ensure that PBC stays. Of course, it is still state-owned. And the fact that it is state-owned means that I and you, Evans, are shareholders, or we have some interest, which there's the need for us to protect. Because, yes, Cocoa Board as the supervising authority is all equally a state-owned. So there's every reason why we have to make sure that PBC stays. If you look at the number of people who are employed by PBC, about 700 people, do we say that let the company go bust and all these persons lose their employment?
Yeah, but from what I understand, they've actually been forced to downsize from over 1,000 to that number. But Fifi, stay with me quickly. Let me bring in my other panelists into the conversation. Nana Jiman Boateng, former managing director of Produce Buying Company, joins me right now. Nana, I need to ask you, it's been said in our piece that the decline of PBC started at your time when you were the head. Can you give us an understanding why PBC is where it is today, failing in all aspects of what it's been set up to do? Hello, Nana, please unmute for me because I can't hear you. Please unmute for me. Thank you very much. Well, whilst it does that, also joining me is Stephen Anane-Boateng. He's the president of the Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association. I'll get your thoughts shortly. Nana, you were telling me.
Good evening, Evans, and good evening to your cherished viewers and listeners. And good evening to Fifi Boafo and all other panelists. Yes, it is not true that if you look at the trend, and as I have been emphasizing, we wouldn't have come in because we didn't have any business. Well, the reference point was from 2016 at 30.8 and declining.
Yeah.
But when the discourse was that it dates back to 2013, that is where I requested for this to speak to it. If you look at the record from 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, when the president and Honorable Brian Edu in their good self discussed that I moved to CPC, we were doing 32 to 30.8%. So it is not true that we had a decline in the market share.
Okay. But from what I understand, if you look at history, when PBC was first set up, the PBC had a monopoly. And so we have 100% share. So clearly, over time, as the market then became more liberalized, others have entered the space. And the market share had dwindled significantly. But the market share challenge is not the only challenge that we have. We have currently, as I just mentioned, significant losses. Unable to pay his debt that he's taking from the banks. So generally, there's a fundamental problem there at the PBC. What is it that has caused this?
Okay, again, to just reiterate what Fifi Boafo said, in 1997 is when the Peru report decided that we need to do a restructuring of this monopoly to allow competition, both in the internal marketing and external marketing.
Yeah.
That is the processes. So that is how in 2002, PBC, as Produce Buying Company Limited, was floated with the shares as you enumerated there.
Yeah.
So that's what we had in the Cash Pro and the Federated and the Unicron. So it is from 2002 is when this thing happened. When CPC was floated, we didn't have any working capital. So ever since that time, as Fifi Boafo explained to you, it's always been a system that Cocoa Board goes for this guarantee, and then all LBCs solicit from the banks and then get this facility. And that is how it's run from 2002. So just like he said, because PBC is the buyer of last resort, and what that means is that they are the only institution that goes across everywhere, including buying the live crop. And that's what governments and Cocoa Board have supported them since 2002. So every year by year, you get your guarantees from the banks, you get it to Cocoa Board. And that is how it's run. So until 2016, this is the same structure that we all have been running. And that is how yesterday the question was asked that why are we here? Because in 2009, 2010, 11, 2012, we saw that we had the Club 100 back-to-back first. And that's how we looked at it and said that you cannot always rely on the crop where you need to do a forecast. Can we get into other diversity? And that's why we went to the AGM, and with approval of the owners of the company, we decided to do this diversification, which we had this guest house in Kumasi, a 7-room guest house. And then we decided that we'll get that into a hotel. That's why I had the Golden Bean Hotel. When PBC was the only buyer who were into it, into the share nuts and cashew and coffee. So here again in 2006, the then President Kufuor invited Cocoa Board and all of us that how can we also get into that side, which is now only a regulator by Cocoa Board. And that's how we invested in that thing, which we have that chef factory. So, as I've been explaining, we had all these numbers of 1,178 workers with 24,000 agencies, buying clerks, watchmen, and they were all on this payroll, yet we had not completed the Golden Bean and Bube, but yet they were on our payroll until 2014 when they started operation. So this is where I came in, that I don't have any business as to what the, but I only came in because when the reference point was that, it's from 2013, which I disputed, and that's why we are still here, and I want to talk about.
So if you look at the structure you just talked about, does it make it almost impossible for PBC to be a profitable entity?
Why so? Because we had run the same business like all the other LBCs are running.
Were you making profit in your time?
Yes, that's why I just alluded that in 2009, 10, 11, 12, we were the club ended and we made profit and paid dividends into the government. And that's how we decided that without margin, we'll get into other businesses. And that's how we changed the name Produce Buying Company to PBC Limited.
Okay.
If we were not making profit, we wouldn't have gone there. So this is how we got in. And because we didn't have any working capital, we agreed with the banks. And for your information, there are some banks who don't take the cocoa board collateral. They also give facilities as overdrafts. So Cal Bank, Barclays Bank, Societe Generale, and EcoBank, we told them that we don't have working capital, but want to get into this diversification. So we will be running it year by year, so that anytime we will use our margin to be paying off that cost of the investment. And that's what I explained, that it is that 289 million, which was that debt as of 2016-17 when I was handing over. And that 289 million was a 42.5 million investment in Golden Bean, 38 million investment in Bupe, 10 million rehabilitating the office where we are now, because that place, every time it rains, it was terrible. So we discussed with the Perez dog, and that's how we have that edifice there. We stayed there, we moved it. We had to open up more regional offices, and that is how the money came up. And in that diversity, we did state that it's going to be 4 years, it's payable. Yesterday, Kojo asked the lady, and she alluded that Golden Bean is now making profit. So what it means that if you invested for the 2.5 million in an investment, and in 5 years, as the cash flows alluded that will make profit and is making profit, then that is true. When we invested in the Bupe share, government gave us $10 million, cocoa board, to give us this money. Here, Ivan, this is an investment where you do 200 tons a day. So even in machinery, even if you are doing 80% capacity, it is 160 tons. You work in a factory of a 330 working days. It's not like the normal 365 days. So 160 by 330 is 52,800. In the share extraction, you extract 48% out of that. So that is 52,800. 48% gives you $25,344. Sold at the crude price of $1,400, it gives you a margin of $35 million. When at even today 11.5 is equivalent to 390 million cedis. That, even if they use it into their core business at the buyer's margin of 789, is equivalent like PBC purchasing 404,000 tons, which is more than 50%. And this is a job for only 200 workers. So the question is that, as you saw, what is it that this management abandoned that structure and left it fallow? That is the question. Because that is why this morning I was repeating myself that the two investments that were there is a viable entity. So now, if you go to Ghana Nuts, Fuji, they are the Japanese guys there. We had this land that we did the extension there that over time would have gotten into the fractionalization. From this 25,344, even when you do 33% as deodorite, it brings you to 8363, and that is sold for 5,500 euros. So it means that that place of 200 workers only would have been giving you 490 million cedis, which is even more than the revenue of a job where you have 1,178 workers across board. So the question that everybody is asking is that why did it happen that from 2016 they've left this business out? Again, we set up an input unit. This input, people will tell you that now today the stock in trade of all these LBCs is getting into the organic. So this niche market is where the suppliers pay $150 additional to the premium what Cocoa Board gives all LBCs.
Yeah.
PBC was the first institution that introduced this. We worked with it. This new management team came and they stopped it.
Okay.
So the question again is that why is it that you're having all this 2-ton cocoa? PBC brought them in here to Ghana. And we started this traceability with them. We started the Red Plus, that activity with the Forest Commission.
Yeah.
That is as a way to curtail the Tanoehu forest. Before the beginning of the season, we will measure because we saw that 26,000 hectares of land were being depleted. So what is it as a way to stop this ecotourism? So we had it with the Netherlands embassy and they gave us 33 million euros. So before the beginning of every season, we go to measure. So if any farmer, you don't cut a tree, you are paying some bonus. The question is, what is it that all these inflows of your money, you cut it short and rely on only one crop, which we all said, like PV is alluding, you are looking at a climate which you say weather forecast.
I mean, so clearly from what you said, things have changed. The results are there to see. And I'll come back to Fifi because Fifi, you, Cocoa Board, obviously because you put money in, you should be interested in clearly what appears to be on the face. And I'm saying clearly because there's a petition that a worker who identifies himself as an MPP polling station chairman in Draboso, who works at 2VC, wrote to the Vice President's office complaining about what has been happening at PBC in the last 4 years. And this went in on the 19th of May 2021. So clearly there's a problem at PBC and the results are there. If they were making profit back in the day, as we just heard there, why are they making losses now? But let me get in the cocoa farmers' point of view into this conversation because they are central to this whole issue that we are discussing. So let me bring in the president of the National Association, and they even have a choice in this matter when they decide to do business with the entities. Are they preferring to deal with one entity instead of the other? So thank you for your time here on PM Express, if you may. Do you in doing business, choosing who to sell your produce to, do you consider PBC as your preferred, buyer for the cocoa that you produce? Please unmute for me. Hello, Ms. Anane. Okay, we have a challenge with him. We'll return to that if we get him. Ms. Anane joins.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Do you hear me?
I can. Yes.
Yes. Good evening to the panel. Yes. PBC situation is very, very sad. Honestly, all along we don't know much about PBC's operation, but we come to realize that along the line, PBC was not financially sound. So we cocoa farmers, we produce cocoa along the line. Because PBC is a state-owned company, we decided to partner them because we realized, or along the line, we came to realize that we farmers are not being treated well. So we will try to partner PBC such that we can also be producing and sell our product to them since it's a state-owned company. But along the line, we saw that they were not ready to partner us. So the money was not there when we send our cocoa produce to any of these people, PBC. Difficult that they pay us. They don't get money to pay us. And the buyers, the commission buyers, they also buy the cocoa from us. They keep it, and then because monies are not coming, they also sell it to other colleagues. So it became a problem for them. And we cocoa farmers along the line, we sat somewhere, we had these discussions, and we even confronted them. I remember one time we went to PBC office and was trying to see how best we can partner them, and then we helped their situation because monies were not being paying to us, and along the line we were also finding financial problems, but nobody was responding to our case. So we decided that, well, if that is the case, when you send your produce to PBC, they find it difficult to pay you. So we should also look at other way around, because although they are selling just like others are selling, buying. But our case, we need money, and our money is so small that we cannot wait till they get money before they pay us. So we decided to do all-round business with all the companies who are ready and financially sound and pay us. So as for PBC operation, in fact, we don't know much, but because it's a state-owned company, we were interested to partner them, because along the line, we know Cocoa Board was telling us that they don't know Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association. And even if that was the case, Cocoa Coffee Share Association was not existed then.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I don't want to go into the disagreements about which, but
why don't you?
I want to focus on what you just described earlier. So the reason why the cocoa farmers decided to fundamentally just do business with anybody else other than PVC, and the market share shows it, is because they were failing to pay you once they buy your cocoa.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was it.
Is it that I also am interested to know if you had your way.
That was the problem.
Okay. Yes. If you had your way, would you have preferred to do business with the PBC instead of the other private operators in the cocoa buying chain?
Oh yes, because it's a state-owned company. We were all along we were all praying that they will be financially sound.
I think we may have lost him on the line there in terms of his connection.
So that we can sell our produce. But along the line, we are much, much happy if they can also revive their company, and we would like to do business with them.
Okay.
And even we prefer that if that is the case, because they are the mother company in the system, they should have a way of surviving, because government has much shares. And we were having a trust in them than any other companies or the new company.
So you trust them better than the private guys. So, but let me ask you, the private entities that you were dealing with, were they able to pay you on time?
Yes. Looking at their situation, because now they are not financially sound, and when we send our cocoa, instead of taking it to them and they borrow, waiting until some time before they pay us, it's better we go to the private companies because they are financially okay. So when you send your product there, they will pay you out.
Okay.
And we trust, now they have become a fixed for us because PBC is not financially sound.
Okay. Stephen, thank you. Stay with me. Fifi, so that isn't that the problem? For the ordinary cocoa farmer, their preference, he says, ordinarily, is that we'll do business with the PBC, but PBC is not paying them. And that.
Oh yes.
And hold on for me, Fifi. But that's what I struggle. Why is it that the private sector guys are able to find the money and pay the cocoa farmers, but PBC can't find the money, even when they have your help, even when they have state assistance to pay? Everybody's playing in the same leagues here. You understand why the ordinary cocoa farmer will make a choice to do with a private guy who pays him promptly and not do with PBC who is struggling to pay them, although they are all doing the same business. Do you understand why that is the case? The PBC is struggling to pay them?
I get a point, except that the little point of departure from that argument is that it is not a case that at all times PBC is not paying farmers when they sell their cocoa to farmers. Of course, when they get the seed funds, they are able to pay promptly when the farmers give their cocoa to them. So it's not at all times where they are unable to pay promptly to cocoa farmers. There are farmers who have developed that trust in PBC to the extent that their wish and their preference is to sell to PBC. So clearly, we do not say that at all times PBC is unable to perform its responsibility. I agree that there is a challenge there. But when a business is in critical situation, it is not when you say that the fact that you have a challenge, so automatically that business must collapse. There are private businesses that are going through challenging moments, but if they are looking at means of ensuring that they are able to stay afloat.
Yeah, I mean, if I may ask you, I guess that is at the heart of this conversation. I guess the Cocoa Board's own interest in this. Because you put your money in, and invariably it is our money, your money and mine, because it's taxpayers eventually. What interest is Cocoa Board taking in the decline of PBS, and what is Cocoa Board doing about it, assisting to fix the problem? What has happened? What conversations have happened?
Okay, so let me iterate some of the things I've already said. One, Cocoa Board is ensuring that PBC is able to get seed funds. Two, the seed funds
from where? Sorry, from where? Get them from where? Say?
From Cocoa Board.
From Cocoa Board. Okay.
Yes, Cocoa Board provide them with seed funds, saying that they will be able to go to the market and buy.
But that's not new. You've been doing that all the time.
But the difference is that with the other LBCs, you have to provide a guarantee before you'll be able to access the seed funds. In the case of PBC, that's not what is happening now. We have a special arrangement, a special dispensation has been created between Ministry of Finance and SIGA. What we give them the seed fund without them providing guarantee. If they are not providing the guarantee, it means that they are able to also save some money, because by raising that guarantee from the bank would come at a cost. So that cost is also taken out of your cost of running your business. Apart from that, we also realized that they were also having some challenges with the banks, for example. So even raising money, or even when monies are paid into the account, it has its own challenge.
Yeah, because they owe the bank 500 million. Of course, no bank will deal with them. And if the money hits, the bank will take their money.
Yeah, so a special arrangement in connection with the PBC has been made where their monies are able to get to their district officers and then their agents out there to be able to buy cocoa for them. Of course, when they raised their what we refer to as CTROs, that is the receipt for cocoa purchases, a special arrangement has also been put in place to ensure that they are able to get payment for that as early as possible in order for them to turn around the money available to them. Of course, they still have some money they are supposed to pay to Cocoa Board, but there's still a need for us to ensure that they are able to go out there and do business. Aside that, realizing that they have some challenges, we are also helping them streamline some of their activities. And we talked about the fact that now Golden Bean is making profits. This was not the case, but because we realized that it was one of the things that was hemorrhaging the institution, there was a need to have some understanding that will bring them back to the profit line, such that they will be able to make profit and they will not have to now send money to the hotel in order for the hotel to operate, whereas they could be making profit to support their business.
Yeah, but what about Fifi? I mean, you said a lot of things, but what about the competence of the current management? I mean, because from everything we've heard, this wasn't the PBC story years ago. It has been in the last 4 years, at least from the petition that went to the Vice President's office, and in the last 6 years, if you take it from 2021 when the petition went. What about the competence of the current management? Very briefly, are you looking into that? And I don't know whether the Cocoa Board, you have a stake. If a worker will write to the Vice President to complain, you put your money in there, you should be interested also in the competence of the team managing the place. Obviously, they don't have the competence. They're incompetent.
Well, I unfortunately, I lack the capacity to determine whether the managers are competent or...
Yeah, but the evidence is on the face of the pink sheet. They're leaking money.
The fact that you run a show, and the show, you are unable to get some questions right as an interview,
then I'm incompetent. I take ultimate responsibility for it. I'm incompetent.
You be judged based on the shows you run. I'm sure after the show, like the multimedia system, yes, you do a review of the show.
No. Eventually they will sack you because Fifi, you know what I'm talking about. They'll sack you. I mean, but stay. Let me get quick thoughts from.
I must note this. PBC, I think in recent past, it's not just one chief executive, for example, who has run PBC. There was a chief executive, and another one came. Unfortunately, he passed recently. A new one has been appointed less than a month. So let's see what the new person also bring on board. I lack the capacity to determine whether someone is competent.
Let me make Nana Jiman because of time. Nana Jiman, very briefly, if you may, in a minute, you've been there. Should the current government, consider, clear out at the PBC, change the management?
I am not in that capacity to advise.
Okay.
But like we just said, we are speaking to issues, and like I'm retreating. I wouldn't have come in here.
Yeah, I know.
There was no reference.
So if there's just one suggestion that you can make, if somebody, because you've been there before, to 10 PBC around, what would that be? Very briefly, what would that one suggestion be if you have an opportunity? If you
again, I want to let Fifi know that it is not now that the Golden Bean is making profit. Golden Bean has been making profit since 2019. So even in 2019, June, July, Golden Bean...
They made profit. But that wasn't my question. I just want to wrap up. What is that one suggestion, if you are asked, that you offer to the current management to tell
One suggestion is that they should accommodate the workers and listen to their plea as against the time.
Hello viewers, thank you so much for watching. It's time for Home Tips with Mira. You know the program is all about home tips, DIYs, and
classic example of a failing majority-owned state institution. Enjoy the rest of the evening.